So in today's masterclass, we're going to cover 5 unconventional strategies the top 1% are implementing to close deals with overwhelming urgency in 2024. This is even with the toughest process that don't have budget. Now, I've been on a lot of webinars and I've read a lot of books and I've seen like all types of masterclasses. What I'm going to teach you, this is not theory. What I'm going to teach you today, I literally have clients paying between $7,000 to $25,000 a year to help them. So they're getting results like Joe Marasco here, who went from ramping up to hitting his annual quota in 4 months and number one in his country in his vertical. Or someone like Carol, who from stress to closing deals like clockwork. Or someone like Eric, who went from overwhelmed to tightening up his entire process and closing a $200,000 deal. And you can see that was literally just 2 days ago. And obviously, we have literally thousands more examples. And by the way, of course, if you are interested in getting direct coaching and you want to apply to work with me directly, you can book a call with a pinned comment link. Now, here's the thing. Without getting help, though, it is harder to sell than ever. So give me a 1 in the chat if you have felt like you've had deals stall out or take longer to close than ever before. The recording will be shared afterwards. It'll be heavily edited. So obviously you want to stay on to watch it. So lots of ones, tons of ones coming through here. I want you to know you are 100% not alone. Okay. Here is the big problem. Like through just the first 2 quarters of 2024, only 43.3% of reps quota. Only 43.3% of reps. Now, that's bad, but what's actually worse is what it actually costs account executives just like you. So I want you to forget about quota for a second, because quota, realistically, let's be real here, it's a made up number made up by execs at your company. The biggest thing is really what you earn. So let's just say, for example, you have an OTE, on target earns $180,000, but your max earnings accelerate is 350K. So that's why I see 350K here. Now yours could be more, it could be less. This is just an example. Let's just say if you're currently earning $160,000, okay? Again, yours might be more, might be less, but if you're earning 160K each year, or each year you're not maxing out, it's actually costing you the difference, all right? So in this example here, it's $190,000 in a direct opportunity cost, but it could be more or less depending on your max. On top of that, it's all things you miss out on, what you can do with the extra income. That's anything from, that could be investing, it could be buying real estate, that could be vacations with your family, this could be paying off debt, this could be sending your kids to private schools or better schools, this could be using that capital to start up side hustles or businesses, this could be freedom of choice of doing whatever you want. Heck, it could be buying fun toys like Teslas or boats or whatever floats your boat, whatever. But ultimately, the reality is the true opportunity cost of an average sales performance is not having the dream life for you and your family. So if you understand this, okay, and you're committed to maxing your comp plan and creating your dream life for your family, and you understand and you're tired of that costing you, if you were 100% committed to maxing out your comp and creating the life for your family, drop a me in the chat. All right, we're seeing the me's come through. Beautiful. All right, so beautiful. I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. These strategies, I have to give you a little bit of context because I didn't just randomly come up with, right? These are strategies I learned when I first got started in B2B sales in 2007, right before the recession hit. And depending on how long you follow me or see my content, you may have seen things like, hey, Mark has been recognized by Salesforce 4 times as one of the top sales influencers to follow. Or maybe you've seen me other features, maybe it's Forbes, Yahoo Finance, MarketWatch, Entrepreneur, literally dozens of other publications. Or maybe you listen to literally one of hundreds of podcasts I've been on, like 30 Minutes of Presence Club or Gong's Reveal podcast. Or some people have just simply heard of maybe our insane track record of results for clients. And the fact we simply leverage the same strategy I'm going to share with you today to go from 0 clients to over 500 clients at under 3 years for our business. Like at the time of this recording, as the time is right now, we're close to 700 clients now in 5 years. Okay. And we feel pretty fortunate and grateful for that. Now, some of you might have even potentially read my Wall Street Journal bestselling book. This is a book I wrote and launched to be an international bestseller in under 5 months. But there's some people here who are watching this right now. You might know my background before even corporate America, because I wasn't one of those guys who sold for like a year and then try to create like a coaching program and try to post on LinkedIn. Like I was in the trenches for over 13 years. This is an outside B2B sales, executive sales leadership roles. I work for 2 major Fortune 500 companies. These are multi-billion-dollar companies. And I was pretty fortunate. I was promoted 12 times in my first 8 years. I was ranking the top percentile every single role. I won countless awards like Presence Club, but also hit and exceed my quota every single year between 100 and 250%. In my last role, I was leading a sales org over 100 employees, delivering 9 figures in new business sales annually before I retired 35 to do my own thing. Now, you can see some throwback pictures here, different awards events. I'm giving some massive keynotes. I'm riding around corporate jets. And yes, I know because someone's going to say in the comments, I had more hair in the pictures too. But here's the thing. If you know me for all this thing, you have to understand I didn't start that way. It's really important you understand that. Okay. So you can see me right here in this picture. I remember getting started in B2B sales June 2007. This is before the big recession. Okay. I wanted to do a really good job because I believe in the company and the product, but they didn't give me any real training or support. You can literally see me, fresh college grad right there. I look like an Asian Harry Potter, if you read Harry Potter. My company did give me they did give me like a thick sales manual of scripts written by people who had never done the job before. Now, I tried to say the canned things they told me to say, but nothing seemed to land my prospects. Like the cold call scripts didn't generate any real appointments as I got, I'm not interested, or we already got that taken care of, or they just hung up on me. If I was able to get any meetings, nothing would ever progress forward and deals would stall out. Or worse, I'd just get ghosted. Now, when I did complain to my manager, which I started to complain earlier on, he just told me, you just got to work harder and it's a numbers game. But here's the really weird part. I was like outworking everyone. Okay. I had the highest activity numbers across the board for weeks, but I didn't have any actual results. While my peers, for some reason, seemed to like effortlessly close deals, which caused me to lose confidence in myself every single day. 2 months into my role, my boss threatened me with a PIP, and that's a performance improvement plan. If you're not sure what that is, like at this point, like I was riddled with imposter syndrome. I was constantly second guessing myself, and I wondered if I was even cut out for sales. And I actually thought about quitting sales like hundreds of times, but I was really worried about getting another job because unemployment at this time was heading towards over 10%. So I was stressed out of my mind and really lost. And maybe some of you have experienced some of those same challenges. Maybe that's why maybe you're watching this right now. Now, this may seem really cheesy, but there was this guy named Tony Robbins that I knew was helping a lot of people. And there was something inside of him. And I personally wanted to help more people too, but I couldn't do it if I couldn't sell. So I started to look at my words, my canned script, like many of you probably have, and it wasn't landing. But then I saw Tony Robbins at this event in California turn around suicide. And maybe some of you have seen something like that, where you saw someone like create magic, if you will, in a moment. Like he was changing lives through the questions he asked and his words. And I wanted to do that. And I thought, what is he doing? What is he saying? But then I figured out the magic wasn't the script. I had this realization, if this dude could turn around suicide, I could probably turn around my sales game if I knew the process. So 140 million 8 hours sold later, my life completely changed as I became a better version of me. I went from broke to becoming a millionaire by 30. I went from the worst to hitting principal almost every single year in my 13-year sales career, from a rookie rep to 12 promotions in 8 years to the point where a large 110-person sales organization. And I made this transition to a better sales process that led to these results. And now it's become literally my mission to make sure that your sales are not just transactional, but transformational. Because if you can learn the process, what we're going to teach you, especially today, you can ultimately be that for your prospects and your clients. So if you're in sales, whether you're brand new, you've been in it for 2 years or 20 years, and you truly want to make an impact, not just close a bunch of deals, how to catch your breath and be someone that prospects hate, but to really stand for something and become a trusted advisor and leader, then these strategies today I'm going to cover for you. And today I'm going to break it down for you. All right. So we're going to cover 5 core strategies. Number 1 is what's called the little domino principle for power. Number 2, the litigator method for influence. Number 3, questions that create insane urgency. Number 4, the C.O.A.C.H Framework for impactful selling through champions. And number 5, the deal audit framework for identifying red flags. Now, I do have to give you a warning. This is really important. Do not mistake the simplicity for lack of effectiveness. Okay. Drop a Y for yes if you understand. Do not mistake simplicity for a lack of effectiveness. Like the concepts are simple, but doesn't mean it's easy. All right. They're simple, but does not mean it's easy. Like open-minded reps that execute will get results. Closed-minded reps, oh, I think I already know that, but you're not really executing it. You might as well stop watching. So if you really understand this, drop a Y for yes inside the chat. Okay, cool. We got the right people on here. Let's go. We can keep rolling. Let's dive right in. So, strategy number one, this is the little domino principle for power. So, here's the problem. Okay. You meet with a new prospect and the call goes well. Over the next several months, you have multiple meetings with other stakeholders. You get to point, draw up a proposal. It seems really promising. Your prospects tell you they just need to run it by their VP or some exec. Then they ghost you. All right. Or it gets stalled because it's not a priority, if you will. You hate life, then you binge on tubs of Ben and Jerry's ice cream and the worst ex ever on Netflix, was a crazy show if you haven't seen it. And then it basically is rinse and repeat. Now, if this has happened to you before, drop a me in the chat who's ever happened to you before. Now, this for sure kept happening to me. Okay, this kept happening to me like on an endless loop. I literally became this guy on the screen, as you can see here from Futurama. Okay, and it was like it's just an endless loop. And then I spoke to a top rep, and they had me go through a pretty easy exercise. They had me go through all my lost deals, and they made me answer one question, which is, "Who is the little domino?" And I never heard that before. I'm like, "Little domino? What's the little domino?" So they explain. Everybody believes that they need to go after the highest possible title, as that is who they basically believe ultimately makes a decision. And sometimes that's true, but sometimes it's not. And there's a little domino in play. And it's a single player that's the strongest influence on making that singular decision. And then they ultimately influence the rest of the pack and sway everyone else, even if others are going a different direction. Now, again, it's not based on title, but more on their actual role in the process. I'm saying again, role in the process. And sometimes others in the process will even downplay their influence. But once they state their decision, it influences everyone. It's this little GIF you can see where it's the little domino, but once they say what they want to say, it basically drives everything over. Who's ever had a deal in the process that's close to the finish line? You had your champion completely dialed along all the stakeholders. You may have even spoken and thought you'd buy the exact level, but then someone totally random sidelines you in the process. Right? Drop an M if that's ever happened to you, right? That randomly happened. Okay. And this is what my friend said to me. She said, "Marcus, you need to stop chasing titles and start chasing those who have a very specific power in the process." And you're going to want to write this down because I remember like this literally has been burned into my brain for literally over a decade now. She said, "They are the only person that can say yes when everyone else says no. And the only person that can say no when everyone else says yes." So they're the only person that can say yes when everyone else says no, and the only person that can say no when everyone else says yes. They are the economic buyer. They have ultimate veto powered influence regardless of the title. And it clicked. I wasn't getting to them early enough. Like I didn't identify the little domino in my deals, aka the economic buyer. So here was really the solution, which is essentially I simply started asking tough decision-making process questions up front to uncover who the little domino, aka the true economic buyer, is. Questions like who would be most skeptical about my solution? Who could potentially derail and veto this? Who could prioritize over this? What concerns would they have? What are their priorities? And you get my point. Okay. And then I'd map the account out with my 7-figure blueprint tool. And I'm going to teach you more on this in step back. I'm going to show you the actual tool and give you a copy of the tool to utilize for your deals too. Okay. And then I'd work the deal accordingly to actually multi-thread them in. Now, when I started doing this, what happened was this immediately shortened my sales cycle. Okay. Like really compressed the deal cycle down drastically. It helped me disqualify opportunities. So I was more focused on the right opportunities. And I ultimately closed more. And the reality is it's not just for me. It was for people who implemented it as well. For instance, people like Alan here, who was struggling to get his deals over the line. So I worked with him to improve how his calls ran. And that's how he literally kicked off 2024, closing 2 deals right in the first 2 days. Or it's how Katrina is closing the biggest deals in her company's history, and her minimum TCV is $486,000. That's 3-year, 6-figure deals because she identified the little domino early and working their influence. It's how Zane is taking the same principle and applying to his new role over at Heartland, which is a close to $1 billion organization, and he's closing his first deal within 2 weeks of joining. Let's walk through some rookie mistakes. Rookie mistake number one is just asking these decision-making process questions without building trust through a powerful discovery first. You must earn their trust, and you must earn the right to ask about the process. If you haven't shown you can provide value up front, they're not going to give you the insight you need, and they won't help you do intros. Rookie mistake number two, and that's just thinking it's all about the title. And I want to give you an example just to illustrate this point. So years ago, I had this $1.5 million opportunity. Now, I thought I had the deal perfectly mapped out. I had my champion on lockdown. I've been multi-threading multiple stakeholders, right? This is the CEO, the CFO, the VP of ops, even the office manager who had been there for 30 years, who had a very high level of influence. I worked with him for about 2 months, and it was progressing really rapidly because they had an agreement that was going to be expired with a competitor that had an auto renew clause. And I'm thinking, I got this on lockdown. Literally, I had verbal yeses from all the most important titles, including the CEO and the CFO. But as you can imagine, suddenly they went dark for 2 weeks. I couldn't get a hold of like anyone, including my champion, who was usually like really responsive with texting. So I started getting really nervous because I had baked this deal in my forecast. Like I'm like, I don't know if you've ever been in this type of situation here, but it sucks. And finally, I get a call from my champion after 2 weeks. His name is Jimmy. I still remember because he literally was almost, it sounded like he was about to cry on the phone. He's almost crying. Like they had renewed with the competitor. The accounting manager, a guy who came to one meeting, he was never promised anyone of significance. He had a really good relationship with the competitor. He'd also been in the company for over 30 years, and the CEO highly respected him because of his tenure. He said no, okay, when everyone else said yes. He completely vetoed everyone else's decision. He, as the accounting manager, was the little domino. And that was a really expensive lesson to learn that literally cost me 15, 20K commissions off that single deal. So let's go to strategy number two. This is the litigator method for influence. So you meet with a prospect, okay? Now, they seem very excited about working with you, okay? They did tell you that the little domino, AKA the economic buyer, is interested, okay? You go through your typical process and you meet with multiple stakeholders. A few months go by and it seems really promising, all right? Then your champion runs it by the economic buyer. They say it sounds good, but they want a business case. You now spend more time with them building it out. Months go by. It gets deprioritized until next fiscal year suddenly. And then now you wasted all this time and energy on a deal that wasn't even viable. Drop a 2 in the chat has ever happened to you. Now, this kept happening to me, especially selling during 2008, 2010. This is in the midst of the last recession. Companies were running out of cash. They didn't have access to funding, so everyone's getting asked to do more, but with less. Any new projects or spend, leaders have to justify it to their exec team. Now, this really frustrated me because it really sucks to do all and not see the payoff. But then I talked to a friend, which was a lawyer of all people, and he was telling me something very interesting. He was telling me how the demand it was more than he can handle, and he was getting an insane amount of lead flow. So I asked him what a solution was. Was he going to hire more staff? Was he going to bring on more lawyers? I mean, he laughed and said, no, of course not. He said, even though demand's really high, not all are qualified. Not all have a defendable case. So I asked him, what did he do? And he said, in the first couple of meetings, we're in a fact-finding mission. We're diving deep to see if we can have enough ground to build a case. And only if we do, and we have a credible defendant, will we actually pursue it. Otherwise, we'll turn it down. And that's when it clicked. He was see if he could build a credible case with them first, or else he was essentially disqualifying them. And I thought back to my own process. Like I was spending most of my time trying to figure out the process decision and buying criteria up front, where instead I needed to focus on building a business case instead. Like I was more like an order taker versus a trusted advisor. So that was a change I made. So that was a solution. So I restructured my whole sales process to start building a business case from the very first call. I dig into core business initiatives. I get specific metrics or KPIs of the problem was directly impacting, the exact quantifiable cost of inaction, how it directly impacted the economic buyer, AKA the little domino, how it impacted the organization at 4 different levels, at the employee level, the leadership level, the company level, and even the customer level. And this allowed me to do the same thing with my friend, which is determine if I'm working with a strong enough champion and a strong enough case. Or else I disqualify them and focus my energy on my more qualified tier one accounts. Now, the result, again, I now got to spend time with the best opportunities versus the tire kickers, and I close more. But again, it's not just me. I'm nobody special. Those who do this get really similar results. All right. So, for instance, Joe Marasco, we completely rewrote his discovery process to focus on having a business conversation up front. Okay. And he's at a big company. He's at Salesforce. This is like a $20 billion a year company, right? We literally rewrote his entire script, what he was doing. And you can see what it says here in terms of how more effective it is up front when you do it effectively. Okay. This is like literally right after he tried for the first time. And then this is his results after 4 months of applying it. Like number one in his segment, okay, in all Salesforce. He has annual quota of 4 months, and he's pacing you 1.5 million on a 438K quota. He's even earned 2 back-to-back $100,000 commission checks this year. Or Kevin Gordon here, because when you run your call like a litigator, you are now separating yourself from the pack of the trusted advisor, not just another rep. This is how Kevin's separating himself even in an RFP situation, because he's doing it up front and helping build that business case from day one while helping them rewrite the RFP criteria. Now, let's talk about some rookie mistakes here. Mistake number one is treating it like an interrogation, because I use the term litigator, but you don't want to interrogate them, okay? So it's not just memorizing a list of questions to interrogate your prospects. You must be transformational and make it conversational. This means structuring your questions and flow in a very specific and organic way that naturally leads to the business case being built out. Mistake number two, only uncovering points to build a business case. Now, if you only ask questions to build a business case and it's not creating value for them, that's a huge mistake, okay? You want to make sure you're coming with a clear point of view, a POV, and then asking questions that make them think. These should be insightful conversations so they see you as a trusted advisor. Strategy number three, questions that create insane urgency. So here's the problem. You're having great conversation with the prospects. The deals seem to progress nicely, following kind of the typical sales process. Deals even get to proposal stage, but then they stall, even if they have set go live dates. Then these dates come and go, and they're still stuck in like status quo. You try offering end of quarter or end of year discounts, right? Which today's close to end of the month. So you might be trying to do this already because you're getting pressure from your sales VP, but they still stay stagnant, just ignore you. So as a result, your cycle lengthens down and you stress even more about your results. And then what appear to be urgent is not so urgent. Now, this used to happen to me all the time until I started studying psychology and human behavior. And I learned something very interesting that you may want to write this down. I learned that humans primarily take action when there's something to gain or when there's too much pain. So I want you to comment below, which do you believe drives the most and fastest action, pain or gain? Which drives the most action, even in your own life? Are you driven to take action when you have more pain, or are you chasing something nice like a gain? Drop in the chat. Let me know what you think drives the most amount of action. And if you said pain, emphasizing pain, you're 100% right, okay? All right. But here's the thing. There's different types of pain and levels to it. For instance, here, you can see here, this is latent versus active pain. You can see pain on a 0 to 10 scale. You can see action or urgency on a 0 to 10 scale. You can see the red dot here. That's latent pain. It's pain that exists, but it's so minor that you won't take any action. So I want you to imagine if you had a little tiny scratch in your arm, would you go to the emergency room for that? Just drop yes or no in the chat. Would you go to the emergency room if you had a tiny little scratch on your arm? Okay. If that scratch, though, instead was just gushing blood out, okay? It's so deep that you can see a broken bone and you can see all the muscle and you're starting to get woozy, you're about to faint. Would you go to the emergency room at that point? All right, yes or no? All right, so here's the thing. Most of the prospects that you're talking to, unless it's an inbound lead, most of them have latent pain, all right? It's a pain that may exist, but seems inconsequential. Shoot, most of the time, especially if it's a cold outbound prospect, they have no idea it exists. So your job is to help your prospects realize that pain and help convert that pain from latent, okay, as you see right here, and get it up to active, all right? So they have level 10 pain, and as a result, level 10 action and urgency. And I want to give you a really simple personal example. A couple years back, I went to the dentist for a routine checkup. Everything been fine, my teeth, gums, oral hygiene, just everything, just regular checkup. While I'm in the checkup, my dentist starts to ask if I brush the manual or electric toothbrush, how often, etc. She asked me about my teeth sensitivity to hot or cold things. And I had to explain, yeah, it's actually got worse. She then pulled a mirror and started to show me that my gum lines had started to recede. But not only receded, she took a little measurement tool and she gauged the depth and showed it had gotten worse. She then educated me that because they track the data, it actually progressed faster over the years, and it could mean that I have early stage gingivitis. And if I didn't take care of it, it would worsen and I could lose teeth. And if I lost teeth, I'd have to get dental implants or not have teeth. So this could lead to it easily costing me $20,000 to $50,000 out of pocket. So this took me from a latent pain, okay, not realizing I had a pain, to suddenly in that appointment with her having an active $50,000 problem, not even including the potential hassle of it. So literally right after that, I scheduled 4 cleanings, like a year with them, and I booked with a periodontists to get some work done. And it ended up being like $2K out of pocket I spent to get it done. And again, by the way, I didn't budget for this, but I found the budget because I knew it would save me $50,000 because the pain of not doing was far too much. And that's really the solution we want to go after here, which is we want to use questions as a tool that lead your prospects to realize a level 10 pain and cost of action. And that's what creates urgency. It must hit them logically and emotionally. I want that to sit for a second. It must hit them logically and emotionally. Everyone knows people make decisions emotionally and they justify with logic. So you need to have both. And I want to give you some example questions. Okay. So these questions like, what are the specific challenges you're facing in X area that become very problematic if you did not solve them 6 to 12 months out? This is powerful because you're talking about, like, okay, what's this challenge I'm right now? If you didn't take care of it, what would happen? So in my situation, obviously it would have cost me way more with my teeth and all those issues, okay? Become very problematic. What challenge is going on the business that's driving us to be a priority? This is really important because you want to be able to tie to their priorities as a business. How high does this challenge rank on your priority list? So at the end of the day, execs have tons of priorities and challenges they're running into, but they get stack ranked in their head. So it's important to see where it stacks. And your questions help them realize this to ultimately shift them upwards. How long have you been dealing with this problem? So this is really powerful as well, because if this is going on a long time, that may tell you they might be more aware of the problem and maybe some of the repercussions of it and the ripple effects. They also may have tried to solve the problem as well. So this is important to understand, which ties to the next question. What have you done so far to try to fix this problem? So this tells you how problem aware that they have, but also helps you eliminate future objections, because if they have in-house dev teams trying to build something to fix whatever issue that they're having and it's not working, them continue to do that is going to basically leave the same problem still. In your opinion, why do you think it hasn't worked? This is powerful because this helps them process through maybe what are some of the root causes or issues of why the problem exists. What metrics most impacted because of the problem? So this helps you quantify out how to measure this, because you potentially have to build a business case, if you will. What metric is it currently at? So where are they currently at? Why would you want that to improve? So why is it important to them? Okay. How does that impact you, your employees, your company? How does that make you feel? So at different levels, because of where it's at, how's actually having that impact to their business? What would you do if this problem continued to get worse? So that you're getting to think future state of, if they don't solve it, what's going to happen? This drives towards the cost of inaction and the opportunity cost of realizing they must take action sooner. What would happen if a year goes by and you're still dealing with the problem and you completely missed the goal metric? So this tells you, again, how important this problem is and how tied to the business priorities it's going to be, and what happens again if they don't take action. What's driving yourself is now rather than later. Again, this just drives towards urgency. Okay. What would happen if you hit the goal metrics? Whatever they're going after, what type of positive ripple effect would you see if you were to hit? How about for your boss, for your company? So there's a reason why they want to go after certain numbers, certain targets. What else would it mean for you to solve this problem and achieve a goal? So again, we're going to have some personal wins, if you will. And you get my point here, okay? Similar to number 2, the litigator method and building a business case, etc. Questions like these can help you quantify out a problem. But the bigger the number, the better. So let's just say, for instance, you sell a solution that has $100,000. Are you showing them that it's a $100,000 problem they need to solve for first? Or are you showing them it's a $1 million problem you need to solve for? It's a big difference. A $100K problem versus a $1 million problem is very different. Is it a little scratch of a problem, or is it a gushing laceration? When you can help them see it's a gushing laceration, you'll see them take action faster and you'll see deal cycles compress, especially if you implement strategies like 1 and 2 that I mentioned before. And you'll start to see results like this. You'll see Joe here, who told me live, even after his DM here, that he finished the year at over 5 million closes. When he sent me a message at 4.5, when we talked live, it's 5 million closes on $1 million quota. He's making more money than ever, and he's even helped his 2 kids buy homes, right? Or someone like Wes Matthews, who was struggling, and now he's closing 150K deals like clockwork. Or Kyle Marini, who's closing high competitive deals by leveraging questions that create insane urgency. So let's talk through some rookie mistakes. Rookie mistake number 1, which is running down a list of questions like a checklist. So it's not just screenshotting, asking these questions from earlier. All right. I know, because I'm sure some of y'all think I should just do that. The magic is in listening to how they respond and then the follow-up. This allows you to go like 10 levels deep to get insane pain. These questions are just the start. Rookie mistake number 2, not building in objection handlers up front. This is about anticipating potential objections and asking questions up front to eliminate them on the back and drive urgency. So for instance, a really common objection is, hey, this sounds great, but it's not a priority right now. However, if you uncover up front what the exact priorities are, and you establish linkage of how your solution can not only solve the problem, but help them achieve their objectives, that's really powerful, because if they don't have your solution, it'll cost them achieving their objectives. All right. So go ahead, drop a 4 in the chat if you have ever been in a situation where you've done your best to multi-thread to get the little domino involved, but you're getting blocked by the team or champion. Drop a 4 in the chat. Cool. So that's what we're going to talk about in strategy number 4, right? The C.O.A.C.H Framework for impactful selling through champions. And you're definitely not alone, okay? You're definitely not alone. So here's the problem. The main economic buyer, aka the little domino, they're often shielded and they're blocked to minimize salesperson engagement. Okay, that's just the reality. So you're usually pushed to meet with a technical buyer or below, and you simply do your best to admit multi-thread and reach out to the economic buyer. And there are times when they simply just block you out. And depending on the relationship with that stakeholder you're working with, you don't want to risk going over them because they're influential, and you don't want to cause it to make you lose your deal. So you're working through a champion to the point where they're going to be presenting the proposal to the economic buyer, but then they do a terrible job presenting on your behalf and you lose the deal. All right. So that's the problem. Here's the solution. You must become their Yoda. You must become their Yoda. You must guide them and coach them on how to sell on your behalf. We got to make them the Luke Skywalker, the hero. And I'm going to show you a really simple method I call the coach method. Here's a situation I want you to think through of when to actually utilize this method. So the situation is this. They say in the sales call, I'll review this proposal with my CFO, my CXO. I'm going to get back to you. Now, I'll make some assumptions here. I'm assume you've nailed the prior 3 strategies and you've done a phenomenal job on your discovery, your demo, your proof of concept, all the steps, everything. I'm assuming you've also tried throughout the process to get the primary ultimate decision maker, the economic buyer, the little domino involved. And you should also be crystal clear on exactly what the process looks like and how they make a decision, the actual process. Now at the stage where they have everything they need to make a decision, and now they say, sounds great. I'm going to review the proposal with my CXO, and I'm going to get back to you. Now is when you're going to implement the C.O.A.C.H framework. So there's multiple steps here, though. So the first step is going to be C for clarity, okay? And it's clarity in where they stand if it was up to just them. And it sounds something like this. Hey, that sounds great. Just to make sure I'm on the same page as you, if it was up to you and only you, would you move forward with the solution? That's C for clarity. Then you want to go to O, observe what they like and how they sell it. This is where you let them tell you. If they waffle on this, from what they say to their tonality, I guarantee you they will be unable to sell this effectively internally because they need to talk to their boss about this, if you will. You must immediately uncover what their hidden objections are and neutralize them. You need them 100% on board or your deal will stall indefinitely. And if they are not confident, there's zero chance they'll be confident with their leader, their boss, their CXO, when they're asking to make a change. So let's assume, though, that they are 100% on board and they would do if it's up to just them. So you can ask something like this. I say, hey, I'd love to hear that. Remind me again, what did you like most based on what we discussed in our last few meetings? This is really key because how they explain to you is how they'll explain to the decision maker. Let them elaborate as much as possible because this is them essentially doing a trial run of how they're going to sell internally. And then we're going to go into the next step, which is we're going to ask about potential objections. So before we dive into that, I want to first uncover the time frame because that's a potential objection as well. So that sounds something like this. Awesome. When will you have a chance to sit down with Alexa, your CEO? Next, we want to feel out what they perceive to be potential objections and how they're planning to overcome them. And you can ask questions like, hey, what do you think Alexa might say? What do you think will be her biggest concerns? And depending on process, notice there's a tonality shift, right? Because I'm asking them questions they might feel a little uncomfortable with, and I need to put them in a place where they feel psychologically safe so they can answer honestly and truthfully, because this is how we actually have clarity in the deal. And then I want to go to C, which is going to be, we're going to coach them accordingly. And that sounds simple like this. Hey, if Alexa says X objection or concern, how will you address that? Now, this is really powerful as this is helping them mentally put together a selling strategy. Reality is most people, unless you're selling to sales leaders, most of them aren't really in sales. So we have to guide them through a selling strategy. And frankly, let's be real, even if they are in sales, if you sell to sales organizations, a lot of them are not very good at selling internally because the internal sales is different than the external sale. And the more they work through this with you, the better prepared they will be. Now, I personally have one last objection handle to prepare them for, which is, hey, what will you do if Alexa says no? So now you can provide some supplemental coaching to help the prospect to lead them through this. Again, I can't emphasize enough. Everything I mentioned before is only effective if you've done a great job in the sales process and they are 100% bought in. Because then we're going to go into the next step, which is H, okay? Which is we're going to hold them accountable. Now you wrap the call up with a firm next step to discuss on the calendar and after the CXO or CEO discussion date, in which you can cover the next steps to onboard, sign the agreement, or to help them more internal selling if actually necessary. And the more you can prepare them, the greater your chances of closing. All right. And when you really nail this part, you start to see results like this. Someone like Sylvain, he was struggling to close, and his deals are usually under $1,000. But when he's implementing frameworks like the coach method, deals are closing for 20x their actual size or the regular size. Or John Habush went from average results, but now he's earning $18,000 monthly commission checks. Or someone like Daniel here went from having zero savings and multiple five figures in debt to closing so much business that within a year, he's paid off all his debt and he has even saved up to five figures. Now, let's go through some rookie mistakes to help you avoid. Rookie mistake number, this was one I'm going to share with you, which is not nailing the key parts of the process. If you haven't uncovered level 10 pain, the core niches, the buying criteria, et cetera, and then you try to utilize the C.O.A.C.H framework, it's just not going to work. Okay. Like this framework is 100% dependent on you nailing the process to begin with. All right. Strategy number 5, the deal audit framework for identifying red flags. Here's the problem. We all get happy ears with our deals. Okay. And because we're so close to it, we don't often see the bigger picture, including all the red flags that can actually add up to you losing the deal. All right. So drop me a 5 if you ever lost a deal. And then after reflecting on it, you're like, I should have done X earlier. I should have sniffed that out. Drop me a 5 if it ever happened to you. You're like, I should have done this. I should have vetted them out. I should have had a better trial. I should have done more preparation. Drop me a 5 if you've ever had that happen to you. And if you say no, I'm going to call you a liar because I still mess up. All right. I still mess up. All right, cool. All right. Thanks for being honest and transparent. I appreciate that. So here's the thing. This happened to me a ton. Okay. And until I realized there were really common reasons this was happening. And it usually broke down to like really 8 different categories. And if I missed any of these, chances were really good that I'd lose the deal. Not only of that, I realized each of these categories had a scale of how effective I was in the category. So I built a tool to utilize to audit my deals. It looks like this. You can see on the left side are the 8 different categories I need to uncover as part of my process. Now, this is based on my powerful sales methodology, which is there's P for pain, they're big problems. There's O, opportunity cost and cost of inaction. There's W, wants and desires. These are the desired outcomes from solving the problems, the big goals, initiatives from micro, macro levels. There's E, executive level influence, that's decision-making power and process. There's R, it's resources, access to funds, to also resources to implement. There's F, fear of failure. It's doubt, uncertainty regarding the existing situation or vendor. There's U, unequivocal trust in the company, the product, the service, the solution, the U. And L, the little stuff. This is specifications, decision buying criteria. Now, for each deal, you can see here, each deal, deals 1 through 4. I'll give you the tool in a second. You put up to 10 deals into here. You'll rate each category for each deal on a scale 1 to 10. Okay. 1 is bad, 10 is fantastic. By doing this, helped me see very quickly gaps in my deals so I could change my approach to these red flags. So here, an example, deal number 1, I'm like, oh, I got some pain, which is not, it's like pretty good, but is it a big enough pain? I probably need to dive deeper into that. Oh, I gave myself probably a 3 on the actual decision executive influence. So what could I do now to get this into the green, which is going to be 9 or 10? I didn't cover resources very well. There's no real doubt about the current situation. So you can see very quickly, this helps you uncover the gaps. So now that may make you pivot your next step. Instead of proceeding forward with the demo, you may need to do a further discovery, right? Instead of proceeding forward with a proof of concept, you may need to meet with different stakeholders in different departments, divisions to gather more insight to have a more effective demo. And you can get my point here, right? Now, here's the thing. This is a very useful tool, but it's good for a quick glance for really auditing your pipeline for your top 10 deals, okay? For larger opportunities, I eventually ended up building a bigger tool or a more robust tool that was more comprehensive and helped me map out deals at a deeper level. And it looks like this, okay? And this is far more robust because it breaks it down by roles, the modes that are in, the personality types, and more. It helps you fully map it out and identify all the biggest red flags. So let me show you an example. So you'll see here that the top section of account details is really self-explanatory. And by the way, if you can't answer these questions, that's a red flag. Now, let's go through like stakeholder analysis. So this is pretty easy. You basically plug in all the buying influences and then the role. And I really break it down into 4 types here. This is based off Miller-Hyman strategic selling. So there's the economic buyer, aka the little domino we talked about before today, right? There's a technical buyer, there's a user buyer, there's a coach. Okay. Then there is going to be the mode. What mode is each person in? All right. Are they in ego mode, which means they believe the best solution? Are they in trouble mode, which means they take action? Are they in neutral mode? Are they in growth mode? So as you can probably imagine, green is good. All right. Yellow and red are worrisome, if you will. And what's the personality type of them? This is really important to understand because, again, they can be amiable, analytical, expressive, or a driver. And if you don't have the right personality types in your deal, things will stall out. That's just real. This is something people don't talk about enough, but this is a big part of influencing behaviors to move deals to a close. Then there's what level of influence does each person have? Low, medium, high. How about are they a champion? Okay. Have you actually met and engaged with them? Very important. This could be a no, yes, or scheduled. Okay. And then what are the direct wins for that buying influence? They partner with you. These are logical, emotional wins you want to plug in here. How bought in are they? 0 to 100%. This is really key. What's the proof? Back with evidence. So the mistake a lot of people make, myself included, is we make some assumptions. Like, oh, hey, they're a CTO, so they're really technical, so they're going to really care about the technical specs, and that's why they're going to want to move forward with us. They're going to really care about this. But did they say that? Don't know. So again, if you don't have the proof, that's going to be a red flag. So it's very, very important. And then, of course, once you start to analyze all this, you can plug in all your red flags below. What are my red flags? You plug it in here. And then, more importantly, what's your next step to eliminate the red flag and by when? This is just a really powerful tool. When you map your deals out, you can identify red flags that you can start working to eliminate and close, which is very powerful, especially if you work with your manager or sales coach, if you have one to help you. If you do it this way, you'll start seeing stuff like this. You'll see stuff like Keir Smith here, who went from struggling to get an AE role, who's out crushing as the number 1 at his company, 2 years in a row, hitting President's Club, taking his mom to Mexico for the trip, even starting his own business. Because they're implementing tools and looking at their deals this way, okay? Or someone like Joe here, who's averaging around 6 figures a year, middle of the pack, to number 1 every month and averaging 25 to 30K per a month in commissions alone. You can see here, even when he sent me a DM on LinkedIn, 40K month, the prior month, right, which is pretty cool. Or Ethan Leeds here, who went from okay results to the top 0.1% income earners and is doing 200% to target. Now, here's the thing. We have covered a lot at this point. So let's go ahead and recap really quick. And by the way, first off, if this has been valuable to so far, drop me a 5 in the chat. We cover 5 core strategies, which has been number 1, the domino principle for power. Number 2, the litigator method for influence. Number 3, questions that create insane urgency. Number 4, the C.O.A.C.H framework for impactful selling through champions. And number 5, the deal audit framework for identifying red flags. And at this point, I always think whenever you learn a lot of things like you learned today, you really only have 2 options to implement this, which is number 1, you go at it alone, which usually will be slower. It will be painful. It will be full of mistakes. and it will be expensive. It will cost you deals, commissions, time, and lots of energy. All right, that's option number one. Or option number two, you can go out together, okay? Which is go out together. I can help you with this. It'll be faster, obviously. It'll be less mistakes. It'll be significantly cheaper, and it'll be fun. Because reality is, we've done this time and time again, so we know what pitfalls to look out for. We have the shortcut. Now, if you're smart and you chose option number two, here are 4 big pillars we're going to work on in terms of action stream results to fix your entire sales process to help you to stop losing deals and close a lot more. Here's the process that looks like. The first thing we're going to focus on is we're going to build what I call your bulletproof mindset and routine. This will automatically get you more focused, more motivated, more energized, but changing how you think and the habits of what you're doing before we change anything else. This way, you'll start seeing a shift in the results you're already currently doing. So then everything else I teach you is going to be cemented to a really strong foundation. And once we have the mindset routine dialed, next we're going to focus on the prospect and pipeline accelerator. So here, we're going to help you fill the funnel and pipeline, teach you exactly what to say, do, right, how to do it, why it works for all the top funnel work. That's making calls, overcoming objections, emailing, social, so you can overfill your account and qualify a meeting. This will ultimately remove the stress and anxiety that comes when you have a light pipeline, which will also boost your confidence automatically. Then the next step is called the sales code selling system. So the mistake a lot of people make is they don't run a refined sales process. I touched some of these elements actually today. This is a problem because deals that ultimately stall out or extend for months or quarters at a time, which ultimately causes you stress because then you're not closing, you're not making the money you want to make or promise to make. But on top of that, you're losing potential deals, sometimes the competition, but more than likely to the status quo, which ultimately costs you thousands of dollars each month in potential commissions. So to combat this, most people, like I tried this, which is I'm just going to work harder, more hours, which ultimately leads to burnout, wanting to quit. So instead, I'm going to teach you what I call the sales code selling system. So here, what we do, it's very simple. Help you revamp and refine everything you do on the sales call. This is from mastering the art of asking questions, controlling the sales process, shortening the sales cycle, presenting powerfully, overcoming objections, and closing more deals and bigger deals faster so you can make the money impact you want to make. And then the last step is ascension. Okay. In this last pillar, is to refine more everything you've learned so far and to continue executing and compound results every single month and every single year. This is what transforms you into expert authority in your space so people view you as a leader and not a sales person. So if this sounds like you and you want to transition from average results to elite results and you want to grow your earnings to an additional $100,000 to $500,000 a year quickly with my team's personal help, then I recommend that we talk. Over the next 5 days, my team has set up slots to talk, all right? And it'll be a 45-minute strategy call. It'll be a Zoom call. We'll diagnose your current situation. If we can help, we'll discuss that. If not, we'll be totally upfront. It will be the most valuable 45 minutes you spend this year, okay? Now, who this is for? So this is not for everybody. You want to be in tech sales or B2B sales, and you sell products or services that are at the very minimum, 5K ARR up to 5 million ARR. You're hungry for more, and you have the potential inside you to achieve far more. You truly love helping others, and you value results above everything else. You understand you must have some skin in the game, and you are an action taker. So if this sounds like you, in which you're tired of grinding and earning less than you should, and you're tired of deal stalling out, and you want to be the top percentile at your company with bulletproof confidence, and you want to earn $250,000, $500K to $1 million plus, depending on your comp and beyond, but you want a systematic and repeatable sales process, click the link in the pinned comment. You'll take this page just like this. You'll click the blue button right here. You'll pick a time to speak with me personally, and you'll answer a few questions about your role. In the next few days, we'll talk and dive into your situation. If it seems like a good fit, we'll discuss what that looks like to work together. If not, no hard feelings. You'll walk with massive clarity on your exact constraints in your sales process. Like I said, this will be the best 45 minutes you invest this year.